Sim 2 for me. Sim 2 Max just spins a little bit much. I am a high spin player. That's also why I use the TP5X golf ball. And to be honest, my driver is all about forgiveness, to be honest. And that's one of the great things you get with Sim 2. I'm already longer than I ever was. I do work at that. I've earned some of it, but obviously technology's done most of the heavy lifting, if I'm honest. I've got 10.5 degrees on this one, fairly standard setup as well. But the great thing about Sim 2 is it is more forgiving across the face. And that is a bit that I am not as good at as I was when I used to play on tour. I spread it out a bit more, let's say, across the face, and it is more forgiving than it ever was, hence the new design as well that we have with this driver. The shaft in itself as well is a little softer than what you might expect from someone who hits the ball the distance I do. It's a 6.5, it's 60 grams and a low spin shaft, which obviously helps me because I'm a high spin player. The setup is nice for me to be, if I get out and play 5 times across 2 weeks, it works. If I get out and play once in a month, it also works for me. So forgiveness is really key for me with the drive, and I have it as well as the distance that I've never had before when I was playing. 15 degrees on it as well. Again, Sim 2, I like the lower spinning heads. Really forgiving, again, for 3-wood, and it's hot as well. I've always had that with 3-wood. For some reason, I've always hit my 3-wood a long way. I like that though. Long way in comparison to the driver. I'm still a good 30 behind it, but you know, I'll shift my 3-wood out there 270 off the tee easily, edging towards 280s, which is beefy. And the bit I like about it is that it then allows me to be able to use this club on holes that I'm not really feeling it with the space. You know, if I feel a bit trapped on the golf course, I get that 3-wood out. There's not many par 4s I'm playing where 280 won't cut it. Ventus Blue shaft in that one as well, it's quite stiff. And 15 degrees of loft again. I like the loft, low spin but with loft is what I want, because I want the ball to get up but I just don't want it stalling, so that's generally what I like with my wood setup. No, when I was young, I never used to, when I was like much younger, I never used to line because they used to hit me around my left ankle. But I do find the design is so much better now. One, they sit nowhere near as hooded as they used to. Again, this is Sim 2, but it just sits so square, and they look more and more like irons when you look down at them now, which makes me feel like I can play it more like an iron, which in essence is what I do. If I try and I'm always trying to advocate this with Tee Time Tips, not to try and collect it off the ground, which is what a lot of people make mistakes with their woods, is that they'll try and collect it because they think they should. And you see some of the best woods players like Sergio Garcia, you know, and he will absolutely take a divot with his fairway woods. And Sim 2 with the Rescue Club in particular, it's essential you do. That's the 4, it's 22 degrees aloft. And really, it fits in for my 3-iron. It's bigger than a 3-iron, but I find it easy to hit a nice little floating shot with it. Well, it'll go about the same, but if I need to stretch it out, I can still ride out there around 245 or so I can get a lot out of it. And again, it's the Ventus Blue in that one as well. So I like that, but that's just one that I change in and out with the UDI, which is quite a new addition for me, if I'm honest. Yeah, UDI right here, yeah, the P790. I love them because it's a 2-iron, but it's not. You know, it's not. It's as easy to hit as the Rescue, but it's easier in windy conditions to keep that ball flight down. So playing links golf, which I've played a little bit recently, game changer in terms of what I can do. I like the versatility of this from all sorts of different lies, even up around the green as well. But from the rough, there's not many lies I can't get that out of. This I can't get out of every lie, but it's a great fairway finder on tough holes or on firm conditions through the summer. Excellent for flighting that ball flight down and getting it chasing out as well. So I like the fact that I have 2 options, because golf is obviously different everywhere you play it. So depending on what my challenge is on the day will depend on which one goes out there. I carry 4 through wedge. They're P7 MCs, that's what I've been using for a good while now. And the reason I like them, as much as I'd like to move more towards the blade, but I like the feel I get from him in terms of I can hit all the shots. I can feel the contact, I can feel the shape off the face like I could when I was at my very best. But I have a bit of forgiveness as well. And that's in essence what I think is so important for people when they're getting fit for clubs, is we all want to hit a blade. You know, like we all want to be hitting like the clubs that we think the best players in the game are hitting, but really we want the clubs that allow us to enjoy the game the most, and slapping it around the golf course with something that's not as friendly, you're going to get much more benefit from this sort of club. There's obviously many others within the range that are even easier, but this is that perfect bit in the middle for me where I have all of that feel that I had from a real high-end club, but at the same time I've got the real game improvement aspect of it, where if I'm having a bad day, and I do have bad days, my P7 MCs absolutely get me out of jail. I can miss hit this and only lose a minimal amount of yardage, and that in essence is what we're talking about. When you whiff it out the toe, you know, are you losing 6 or 7 yards, or are you losing 20? You know, because 20 is going to damage your scorecard. 6 or 7, you're going to get away with it. And again, I have KBS shafts in this. These are C-tapers. They look like graphite, but obviously they're not. They're brushed steel. So user-friendly, not super. I mean, they're 120s as well. So and they're S's. So They're not super strong for me, and again, just allow me some more playability, a little bit more feel. And on the days when my speed's maybe not up to where it once was, it's just quite forgiving. Yeah, so my pitching wedge is obviously, again, just part of my set. I've always quite liked that. I know some players will move into the actual specific wedge design, but I like having it as part of my set because I really do see pitching wedge as one of my normal irons. I think it was like a full shot sort of mentality with my pitching wedge. You know, and it's a 135 club that for me as well. And I can stretch it to 140 if needs must, but it's a 135 club. I like 3 wedges, so I carry a 52, 56 and a 60. I think of them more as, yes, I'm going to hit full shots, but I do think of them more the capabilities around the green for me in saving strokes as well. I built my game around having the different feels for length of swing. I use the clock face for my distance control and my wedges, and I know my numbers for it, so I can hit them all, so I know what nice leaves and distances are for me. My 52 is a 115 club, my 56 is a 105 club, and my 60 degree is a comfortable 90, but I'll never hit my 60 degree full out. I just don't like the feel of it going up my nose when I'm hitting a full shot with that club. I'd rather feel in a 56. And I obviously use the MG3s, which are they're actually pretty brand new in my bag. I've only had them for a few weeks now to try them. I'm quite lucky actually because the boys did a nice job. Sam and Mark obviously did these for me, and they've got the 3 stars on the toe for the 3 tournaments that I won on the European Tour. So it's a nice little reminder when I'm having a glum day that you once were okay. And it's got my initials on it as well in case someone steals them, they know where to return it. But I love these because these are higher spinning golf club. The hard bit for me is that I was absolutely in love with the high toe. It's like that classic TaylorMade have done something which is great, but not great because now I've got indecision because there's 2 clubs that I love that do different jobs. So I've come to terms with the fact that I'm going to chop and change depending on what the ask is. These do spin a lot more, especially in wet conditions. And I think for me, it's nice to have around the green because I did notice over the years that as I wasn't maybe quite as dialed in with the purity of the strike, my spin was dropping off a touch around. So being able to hit that one that jams in there with a bit of check, which I used to have right in my locker when I was at my best, I had less of, to be honest. I do that more with these than I do with the high toe. But having the grooves across the entire face on the high toe and playing out the rough, you know, being able to open that blade up and not feel compromised in thicker grass because there's so much coverage, I love that. So I may, in time, depending on the circumstances, how I'm feeling, chop and change with the 60 degree. But generally, I must admit, I think I'm going to stick with the MG3s because they feel better in terms of the feel. They look great down behind the ball as well. And I think that's one of the most important things for me with all of the equipment, and especially with drivers. I remember when I first got out on tour, there was an era when all the drivers looked like this to me, like they were shut. I hated it. I always felt like I was having to manipulate to get the face aiming where I wanted to, whereas now they sit so pure. And the reason that I like it is because I think it's really important that when you look down at a club, as much as performance is key, what the numbers show when you get fit, it's really important. Let the guys who are brilliant at what they do and fit in give you the right stuff for your game. You have to feel good looking down there, because if you don't feel good with what you're looking down at or how that feels when you make contact, you're not going to perform well because it will start to seep through in terms of confidence as well. So it's important that the aesthetics fit your mind as well. Generally, yeah, most of my success came with heel-toe balance putters, which of course this is. And the X is great because obviously it's got the pure roll face on it, so it rolls beautifully. You know what I loved about it? So when I first came to TaylorMade, and I'd never used a putter so much like this. And I'd seen loads of guys using it. You know, obviously I was there and watching Jason Day like not miss for 2 years. And I remember watching with the old Spider, and I remember looking down at it and think, wow, it's remarkably easy to aim. It's actually the first time I ever tried one. I played in the member guest day here, and it was everyone was given one here at Wentworth. So, and I wasn't actually then with TaylorMade as one of the ambassadors. And that's the first time I tried it on the putting green here. I couldn't believe how easy it was to aim. To have a putter you look down at and you can see the line coming out of the putter, because I like to track it with my eyes, that's a big thing. You've got to feel like you can absolutely tie up what that face looks like to where you need to send that golf ball. And some putters are easier to aim than others. Obviously, you've got the line under the top here, which make it particularly easy with this. But the way it hangs, I have it very upright, the set of my putter. I'm not quite Bryson upright with it, but I'm getting towards it. So the more upright the putter, the better for me. And with this, it works really well. And hence why the heel-toe balance I really like as well. I don't want the putter naturally wanting to topple over on either direction. So I can have it very upright. Monty-ish, Bryson, you know, there's lots of good putters done that in time. Of course, there's lots of good putters like Tiger Woods who've done it the other way as well with swinging gait. But for me, it's more reliable. And this style of putter, the Spider EX, allows me to do that. Low spin nature of it, which is a real thing for me because I noticed the habits of my game are that when I'm playing in the wind, because of the nature of the flaws in my golf game, I squeeze the ball to keep the flight down. But when you squeeze the ball, when I try and cover it and squeeze it this way, I increase the spin on the ball. So ironically, when I really need the spin to be off, everything about my instincts of how I play the game increase the spin, which then make it have more of an effect on the ball. As much as it sets out low, it's not what you want. We all know that high launch, low spin, doming flight, off the tee especially, but with the irons too, to a degree, is what we're looking for. So I need all the help I can get from the outside, as well as me trying to improve my technique when I'm playing in those conditions. The TP5X does that. It's probably the lowest spinning ball I've played that's high end in terms of the softness and feel. You know, obviously you can have a low spinning golf ball, but then it's like hitting a brick. You know, and the great thing about this is I have all the feel around the green, the control, the spin, as I was talking about through the wedges. But at the same time, I can, you know, I've got that lower spin, so it's cutting through that wind a lot better, which has been really noticeable. Less so than when the weather's good, I don't notice it too much, but when it is blowing, I do now notice when I'm hitting those shots into the green that once upon a time, I was the guy that would have it, and it, you know, it would like just fall like a stone sometimes. This thing just goes through it, which is, actually took a bit of adapting at first, because I was going long quite often. I was over-calculating for the wind because I got used to doing that. So yeah, TP5X has made a big difference for me.